Hey, what's up, everybody? Will here from Flow Candy. Today we're breaking down Supergoop. So Supergoop is, I guess, when you consider a challenger brand in the um, sunscreen, skincare category, and it's really fascinating to break down. There's a lot of cool things I want to share with you guys after looking at this. Before I dive in, though, just as a note, you can access. Um, Everything here for free at the link. If you're watching this in YouTube, there's a link below. So I'll be walking through a breakdown. I have a benchmark index, and you'll be able to access all of that. Just click on the link. No opt-in or anything required. Um, so with that said, let's dive in here. And one of the things that I think is fascinating. So this brand was founded in 2007, I believe, and which in the grand scheme of D2C e-commerce is actually kind of old. When you think about it, I consider, or I don't consider, I feel like a lot of people consider brands that, I mean, they started before Shopify ever launched, you know. So, kind of an older brand, but they act like a younger brand. I mean, when you look at their tech stack, they're using common tech stack like Klaviyo for email, Attentive for SMS, running the e-commerce store on Shopify, but they're also using more modern tools, like they're running their subscriptions through Skio. They're using Revo, sort of a challenger loyalty app. So a lot of really they're much more nimble than you think, I guess. Also, when you consider that this brand is now owned by Blackstone, Blackstone, a famous private equity group here in the U.S., and I think it was valued at around $600 or $700 million, rumored to be doing over $200 million, $250 million in revenue. So it's kind of cool to see a brand that moves into um, a company like that is still very much on the cutting edge. It's not like totally founder led anymore. So exciting. Um, with that said, like just some other, brief talking points about the brand before I jump in. So it was started originally as sort of the founder really wanted to get like sunscreen into classrooms. This was like the beginning mission, like back 2007, 2008. And, eventually, because of, sunscreen, if you've ever noticed it here in the U.S., it's a drug, actually. There's like active ingredients listed on the back. It was harder to get placement into public schools, so shifted more to private schools. But I think, they also got some early influencers like Maria Sharapova, famous tennis player. Um, so got a little bit of traction early on in the early 2010s, teens, whatever you want to call it. But I think things really started to shift in kind of pre-COVID when they hired a former LVMH executive, brought her in. And I think that's when the company really was put on a trajectory to get to that acquisition around 2021, 2022, I think, was when they were acquired by Blackstone. So that's a little bit about like sort of the brand, the origin story, the revenue, the valuation, where they're at today. But let's jump into some of their emails and their digital marketing. So I'll start off. They're doing about 1 million visits a month, about 700,000 followers on Instagram, 800,000 followers. They got a pretty decent TikTok audience too. They send a lot of emails actually. Like I coded them around 30 plus emails a month. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. So that's a pretty heavy campaign calendar. The strategy, I mean, this is one of the more dialed in brands I've looked at. If you've watched my videos before, you know that like anybody that's over 10, I consider good at email marketing. Anybody that's over 15, I consider great. And then, if you're over 20, you're like world class. You're like, these are the brands that everybody's talking about when it comes to email marketing. And Supergoop is up there. I mean, this isn't the most perfect system. I don't have access to their analytics, their segmentation. I don't know their open rates, their click-through rates, the amount of revenue they're driving, et cetera, et cetera. So all I can do is sort of like extrapolate based off the angles that they send. And from my experience, normally, when I say angles, I mean the types of emails that they send. It's not just promotional emails. They're sending all different types of themes or angles, as we call them. And from my experience, again, it's like normally the more diversified the angles are, normally the more adept the brand is at like CRM and email marketing. And yeah, when I look at Supergoop, they send a fair amount of promotional emails, but not like heavy. I found them at like 37%, which is pretty good. That's like a really, to me, like a diversified, probably well monetized email marketing channel where you know they're dipping into that promotional. They're finding ways to do promotional sends, but they're finding ways to mix stuff in. But anyway, there's some cool. Let's see if I can find some cool angles I saw that they did that was a little different and unique. Um, one thing they did, let's see if I can find in March, was these bulk orders. Let's see. I thought this was pretty cool. Yeah, here we go. Different angle that I've never seen before. I mean, I guess I have seen, but that's a loyalty one. Where's the bulk one? It's not here. Could have sworn it was. Um, is it February or April? Here it is. Yeah, April. They send these bulk units. I thought this was pretty cool. I guess this harpens back to the days when maybe they had more. They're getting into classrooms, but also they probably have a lot of customers getting this as corporate gifts, wedding favors, stuff like that. So if you notice that going on in your business, um, you know, that could be. This is an interesting angle. Like I said, it's not an angle that we've always deployed. It's not an angle that I actively track. So that was interesting. In terms of collabs, they had an interesting one with White Lotus, I believe. Let's see if I can find that. Yeah, so this was like an interesting collab email that they did. Um, we recommend a lot of brands do this. This is a great way to sort of. I don't know if like the HBO is blasting out Supergoop to their audience, but great collabs. That's what we recommend. Where you can find other brands to cross promote, and you can sort of expose your brand to different audiences, and it's free a lot of the times. You don't need to. It's cheaper than like paid ads or something like that. Another thing they do well is uh, they do very good like social proof emails. Here's a social proof one. This is standard. We see this a lot where showing different products and reviews. I thought this was pretty cool too. They hit it the next day. They did it again. Um, I also gave them points here for trending now. Um, for yeah, the trending now angle that we tracked. That really a lot of beauty brands. If you have viral products, you need to be doing. Um, this is a product focused email again, more social proof, collection focused. Um, Oh, this was cool. Like a ski trip email. This is in February, so a lot of good stuff. Um, one thing I liked too was in November. Let's see if I can pull that up. I don't have that, do I? Tracked it last. I don't have it this year, no, but they did some interesting stuff in November. If you go back and look at their Black Friday emails, they did a lot of loyalty emails around Black Friday, as well as giving away free travel sizes, which is an interesting angle as well. So anyway, that's the Supergoop. Like I said, really dialed in. You can see they're doing. This is the one I'm talking about. These free travel size emails they do, which is great if you have those. those SKUs available in your catalog. But yeah, really well diversified email marketing calendar. It's not just all promotional blast. When they do promotions like around Black Friday product launches, they lean in pretty hard. So I encourage you to check them out, especially if you're in the skincare category, makeup category, sunscreen category. I mean, this is a great brand to study. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.